It's important for research writing to be accurate, so any mistakes in this area are severe. There are 6 categories of problems. First, factual errors in world knowledge. Second, factual errors within the article itself. Third, overly bold claims. Fourth, overgeneralizations. Fifth, statistical and numerical errors. And finally, the language-related ones, spelling and grammatical errors. Errors in world knowledge can be inadvertently introduced into a research article quite easily. It's necessary to proofread your article and think very carefully about what you've written. Here we can see an example of somebody who wrote down the incorrect date. I'm going to guess they hand wrote 2016 and their 1 looked more like a 0 and they copied it incorrectly to become 2006. Factual errors within an article occur a lot, especially if the writing phase happens over months or even years. Here in the example we can see they have a data set of 5,000 sentences, and somehow from that smaller data set they took a bigger data set, which is impossible. In the revised version we can see that the problem was there was an extra 0 in the second data set. One of the key criteria in research articles is never to be wrong, and this is where overly bold claims are problematic. Anytime you claim something for all cases or you claim something is perfect, there's a chance that you're going to be wrong. And here the example, this algorithm works perfectly for all types of data sets, is probably setting itself up to fail. We can revise it quite easily. We simply change perfectly for something of a lower number, and we replace all by adding some limitations. Here we can see the new version. This algorithm works well across diverse data sets, providing the feature distributions are not heavily skewed. So we've introduced a specific limitation. Overgeneralizations happen when we refer to the whole group and we ignore individuals or special cases within the group. Here we can see the claim is all machine learning models require large amounts of training data, where in fact that's not the case, because we have some types of machine learning that don't require large amounts of training data. The way to revise this is simply to downgrade all to something like many, or if you're not actually sure of the number, a more generic word like some. A surprising amount of research articles contain incorrect statistics and incorrect numbers. However, you want to do the best to avoid making any errors, and especially to avoid simple errors that may be discovered by any reader. Here in the example we can see there are 3 sets of samples and they've given a total. Unfortunately, the numbers don't add up. It's easy to revise. Check the numbers and make sure that they add up correctly. 450 plus 350 plus 300 makes 1100. So please double check any numbers in your paper. Using the correct words, spelling and grammar is important. However, in many cases, minor errors, although they may undermine credibility slightly, they may not affect the meaning. However, occasionally you're unlucky. If your mistake results in a completely different meaning, then people won't really understand your research article. We can look at the example here. We use the public date set to do something. Well, unfortunately, a date set and a data set are completely different entities, and so the readers don't understand what you're talking about. And that's the issue.